Us right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I am Joshua Van Sleckman, and these are the top stories we're tracking. Government has weakened environmental standards in favor of ExxonMobil, according to Dr. Vincent Adams, and he calls for the Lisa and Pyre permits to be amended. In the Henry Singh murder, police refute claims by Hughes surrounding charge of Henry relative, says lawyer attempted to pervert the court of justice. GECOM's DCO takes Jagdeo newsroom to court for libel, and AGM local workers complain of being treated differently from Chinese. Meanwhile, 3 teens in custody for robbing Letham cop. Berbice pensioner found dead in home and son arrested. Stay tuned to stay informed. Meanwhile, sorry about that, sister stabs brother over chaser money. And suspect allegedly kills man who told him not to enter his yard, and father of 4 feared drowned in Essequibo River. Stay tuned to stay informed. Welcome back, and now for the news in details. When one considers the ramification of certain action the government has taken to regulate the oil sector, it is clear that there has not been a strengthening of industry standards. Instead, the principles have been weakened in favor of ExxonMobil. Making this statement among others yesterday at a virtual press conference that was held by the AFC was former head of the EPA Dr. Vincent Adams. He was at the time denouncing what he referred to as the Call Us Misinformation campaign being peddled by the PPPC government. Dr. Adams said the message of the PPPC is that it strengthened the environmental permits awarded to ExxonMobil. He noted, however, that when the modification made by the PPPC are examined alongside what existed in the past, it is clear that the government is spreading a false message. The Guyana Police Force has moved to refute claims made by attorney Nigel Hughes that it is unfairly instituting a charge against a relative of the Joel and Isaiah Henry for the murder of 17-year-old Harris Singh without interviewing his alibis. The relative, identified as Gladstone Henry, better known as Gladwin, was among 4 suspected remanded on Tuesday for murdering Singh in the No. 3 village Backdam, West Coast Berbice. Gladstone is the elder brother of 16-year-old Isaiah and the cousin of 19-year-old Joel, whose bodies were found dumped on a coconut estate at Cotton 3 Backdam on September 7th last year. Gladstone Henry was arrested on Saturday after he turned himself in the company of Hughes, following the police issuing a wanted notice for him in relation to Harris Singh's murder. Earlier this week, the DPP had advised that he be charged with the capital offense after one of other 3 suspects implicated him as the mastermind of the crime. Vice President Bharat Jagdeo is the subject of a libel case brought by GECOM Deputy CEO Roxanne Myers. Myers is also suing online news outfit Newsroom for libel for statements. According to the statement of claim document, Myers has asked the court to grant her in excess of $150 million worth in damages for defamation statements made and published via the 2 defendants. In the matter drafted by attorneys Nigel Hughes and UC Anderson, the DCU has asked the court to order Jagdeo to pay her damages in excess of $50 million for statements which he made and were published on March 5, 2020. In addition to the initial $50 million claim, Myers has asked the court for orders for Jagdeo and the newsroom to pay her in excess of $100 millions for the statement, which were published on the World Wide Web via the online news outfit. Local workers at Aurora Gold Mine, currently being operated by a Chinese company called Zhizing Mining Company, has complained in a 5-page long document about being treated differently from the Chinese employees. The document took the form of a letter and was addressed to whom it may concern by We the People, AGM employees. In addition to complaining about being victimized by their Chinese bosses, denied free time, overworked, being punished without proper investigation and unfair dismissal, the local worker highlighted that they are also being fed differently when compared to the Chinese workers. The locals in the document revealed that the Chinese nationals have a separate kitchen from them and they are prohibited to go there. In addition, they stated all of the fresh food items from fruits to meats are going to the Chinese kitchen, along with utensils, napkins, etc., while the Guyanese are left to eat cut-up chicken, scraps such as chicken skins, and little to no vegetables with meals. You can get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. 13 boys ages 15, 16, and 17 are now in custody at the Lethem police station for allegedly robbing a police sergeant of his money on Tuesday night. We understand that sometime between 21 hours and 22 hours 20 in Tabachinga, Lethem, Central Rupununi, the trio stole $90,800 in cash from 36-year-old Kaieteur Bishop's motor car. There, the three were questioned when one admitted to the crime. After confessing, he took the officers to an unknown location and handed over the bag of money. You're listening to us right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. More news after the break. Stay with us. And 99.5 FM, we continue with the news at this time. The community of Number 3 Village, West Coast, Berbice has once again made the headlines after a pensioner was found dead in her home yesterday morning by her 6-year-old granddaughter. Deceased is 64-year-old Tishwati Jailal, well known as Babu, of Number 3 Village, West Coast, Berbice. Her son, a 41-year-old security guard of the same address who has been identified as Dionarine Duku, called Danish, was arrested and is presently assisting the police with investigation. Based on information provided to the police by the 6-year-old, her father would brutalize the old woman for money, and on the night in question, he did so again. Police said that the toddler relayed that her father armed himself with a cutlass and brutalized the woman in the hall of their home, and she was lying on the ground and was not moving. Investigation are in progress. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. Before the prosecution closed its case for the pharmaceutical supplier who allegedly provided the Ministry of Health with fake HIV testing kits and is expected to call 5 more witnesses to testify, the matter will continue today in the Lenore Magistrates Court before Magistrate Zamina Ali C. Paul. The defendant, Davinder Ramprasad, technical consultant to the Caribbean Medical Supplies Inc., is the representative who is facing the charge. The company, Caribbean Medical Supply Inc., is one of the country's largest pharmaceutical supply companies. The charge was brought against the company last year by the Government Analyst Food and Drug Department. According to information provided, Magistrate Ali C. Paul is now in trial mode for the matter. A man was taken to the West Demerara Regional Hospital after having an altercation with his sister, which led her to stabbing him with a glass bottle. According to a police report, the victim, 27-year-old Ricardo Mahadio, gave his sister $1,000 for her to buy chaser for their liquor. A few hours had reportedly passed before Mahadio's sister returned. However, the woman returned empty-handed. At 21 hours 20, an argument subsequently ensued between them. In the midst of the argument, Mahadio's sister reportedly took the Guinness bottle that she had in her hand and dealt him a lash to the left side of his head. The woman then took a piece of the said broken bottle and dealt him a stab to his chest. Checks were made for his sister, which ultimately proved futile. Her boyfriend, who was there at the time of the incident, was detained, pending further investigations. A 56-year-old man chooses to succumb to the injuries he received from an altercation he had with a man who he told not to enter his yard due to a misunderstanding. The deceased has been identified as Frederick D'Souza of Ituni Region 10. His alleged killer, a 39-year-old man of the same area, is presently in police custody assisting with the investigations. According to the police, while in custody, the suspect stated that after he entered D'Souza's yard, the man used a picket and allegedly dealt him a lash. He claimed that he retaliated by disarming D'Souza and using the said picket to inflict injuries on the deceased. The suspect told the police that D'Souza had warned him not to enter his yard, but he did it anyway. Mahesh Prasad, a father of four, is feared drowned after he jumped into the Essequibo River for a swim on Tuesday morning and has not been seen since. 40-year-old Prasad of Monrepo's East Coast Demerara reportedly went swimming sometime around 10 hours 30 that day, moments after socializing with some friends at the Riverview, Bartica. It is understood that Prasad and two other men were out imbibing at an old school located at short distance from the shoreline, when he informed them that he wanted to take a swim because his skin was hot. According to the police, the man was seen jumping into the river but failed to resurface after some time. Noticing that he was not resurfacing, people who were around at the time raised an alarm and immediately checks were made for him. But there were no trace of Prasad. An investigation into the matter is ongoing. It is 12 hours 25 in Guyana and right across the Eastern Caribbean. It is time for your COVID-19 updates. The Ministry of Health yesterday recorded that an additional 4 persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. According to the ministry, the latest fatalities are that of a 91-year-old woman from Region 6, and a 71-year-old woman and a 34-year-old woman and a 50-year-old man, all from Region 4. As a result of this, Guyana's COVID-19 death toll moved to 473. 87 new cases were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 20,142. 14 patients are in the COVID ICU, 100 persons are in institutional isolation, 1,406 in home isolation, and 3 are quarantined institutionally. To date, a total of 18,109 persons have recovered from the virus. It is time for your page 7 of the Kaieteur News that is dedicated of being blunt. The World Bank is failing over itself to give Guyana money. That is our money ripped from our oil that is being recycled to us, just like what was done to poor countries in Africa and Asia. The giant American and European multinational fetch away the fabulous riches, and organizations like the World Bank then come and offer a slice of 2 of leftover bread. The companies carry away the whole baker shop, and the World Bank and others step up with their so-called generosity. Guyanese, don't be fooled by these scavenging companies and their goody two-shoes charitable backup pimps. They are part of the exploitation, the big lie, and big hustle. And with that, we've come to the end of your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Allow me to remind you that you can get the full details of these stories and much more by picking up a copy of the Kaieteur News at a newsstand near you, or head across to our website at kaieteurnewsonline.com. My name is Josh Van Sleckman, and thank you for joining us. Have a great remainder of your Friday afternoon.